From discarded cigar coffin 37C, outside of a gentleman's club where we didn't meet the dress code, this is a Cigar Snob podcast. I'm Nick Jimenez, your senior editor. I am joined by Eric Calvino.
Hello.
Our editor-in-chief and publisher, and Ivan Ocampo.
What up, y'all?
Our production dude. Anytime that you see all of our excellent photo shoots, he is the man behind all that magic. Today, we are opening with a discussion of something that is delicious, but that is not a cigar. And that is this awesome Godiva Chocolate Liqueur that we featured in a recent Perfect Pairing in the January-February 2018 issue of Cigar Snob Magazine, which is shipping as we speak. Eric, tell us a little bit about where this came from, how we got hooked up with this bottle of this stuff, and
Well, so first off, it's the milk chocolate liqueur, because they have a couple different varieties. They have a white chocolate one, which I'd love to try also. If the Godiva people are out there, we'd love to try it. And they have a dark chocolate one, but this is the milk chocolate one, and it was gifted to us by our printer every year in the holidays, and you can read about that in the Perfect Pairings. But yeah, every year during the holidays, they send us typically wine bottles. But this year, Michelle was kind enough to send us a bottle of Godiva milk chocolate liqueur, and we loved it.
Thanks, Michi. Delicious. This is not good for our diet, but it is yummy.
It's not. I have a heart. You know what I'm doing with it constantly is I'm putting it in my coffee. Just outrageous.
yeah.
And you can do it in American coffee, or if you're in Miami and you drink Cuban coffee, a little shot of it inside of your Cuban coffee is out of this world. So I love the thing. I love it. I haven't stopped drinking it.
You know, the only thing we haven't done is chilled it. I think chilled would be even better.
I know. You know why we haven't chilled it? Because I don't want to commit to finishing the bottle.
Right.
Because once you chill it, then you got to finish it. Because that's not.
We're almost there.
I know, but it's not like vodka or tequila where you can chill it and it's not going to freeze. This is only 15%. I imagine it's gonna freeze. And then we're just having popsicle sticks of Godiva, which it doesn't sound that bad either.
Yeah, it really doesn't. If you're into, I know this sounds like I'm cheapening the thing, and don't take it that way at all, but it is like,
oh boy,
like
I know where you're going.
It's like great yoo-hoo that gets you drunk.
Sucks.
It's richer. It's a more genuine chocolatey flavor.
So if Yoo-hoo made a super concentrated version of itself,
sure,
and added alcohol to it,
that's what I'm saying. It's richer.
But it does have a little bit of that Yoo-hoo-ness.
Yeah, because it's not quite like chocolate milk. It's because it's not. I don't know if there's dairy in there.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, there's no dairy,
because it's been open all this time.
So yeah, that's the only thing. It's like you drink it and at least I start thinking chocolate milk, but with that kind of boozy kick.
I know, but it's so silky.
It is, yeah.
It's like liquid, just goodness.
I'd love to pour this over ice cream. That'd be pretty exciting.
Or one of our smoking hot cigar snob.
Listen,
bottles.
where are you going with that?
Sorry.
Listen, I know that we were all thinking that, but it came out of your mouth.
All right, so that is not the pairing that we put in the magazine. In the magazine, we did pair it with My Father, La Opulencia. So tell us a little bit about, Eric, about what your notes were on that pairing in the magazine.
Well, look, when people ask me about pairings, I tell them all the time, the number one thing is to start with two things that you like. Don't try to make something help the other product out because you don't like it. I mean, once you start to get adventurous, maybe you can get into that. But really, when you start with two things that are delicious on its own, you have a better shot at a good pairing. Now, in this particular case, the My Father La Opulencia, it does have that very pepin profile. It's strong, it's got pepper and earth, and itself has chocolate notes as well. And so when you pair it with this just chocolate goodness, the Godiva just coats your palate completely. And then what it seems to, at least when we tasted it, what we seemed to agree on was that it sort of eliminated that earth and pepper, and it left you just with this like chocolatey nutty thing that was just ridiculous. I could do that every day.
Absolutely.
I say that a lot, don't I?
That you could do things every day?
Yeah, I think it's because I do them every day.
Hey, man, we wouldn't ask you to lie for the podcast. If you're drinking this boozy yoo-hoo every day, then Bayadu.
I have to for the Cuban
Can you
listeners.
get drunk on this?
It's
Is
only
that possible?
15%, but it's got so much sugar in it that I imagine
You'd have
you
to
could.
drink a lot of it, huh?
I'm down.
I'm down to try.
All right, so our next topic of conversation here, speaking of pairings, this was really not done for the purposes of pairings, but we happen to be drinking this delicious Godiva stuff with a special cigar from the Cigar Snob Vault.
You're so cheesy, dude. I love it.
And this is the Montecristo Premium Selection 07. A little bit about the blend. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Habano, the binder is Nicaraguan, and the filler is a combination of Nicaraguan and Dominican tobaccos. This, when it came out in around 2011, 2012, was available in 3 sizes, a 6x52 Toro, a 5x52 Robusto, and what we're smoking now, which is the 7x56 Churchill. Eric, this is from before my time at Cigar Snob.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how this ended up in the vault.
So we bought a box of this when we rated it way back when, and it's been for our ratings we only need 6 cigars, right? 1 for the photograph and then 5 for the panel. So then there's leftover cigars, and normally we give out but then there's things that I put away, and I just kind of stash them in the back of the humidor there, and so this thing has been sitting there. What was it? 2012?
Right. So it's 07, meaning that in 2012 they were using 07 vintage tobaccos.
Got it. So it's been sitting there since that time. So if it has 07 tobacco in there, and we have to assume that what they're telling you is true, because if anybody can pull that off, it's these kinds of companies that have these massive stores of tobacco. So this is some very old tobacco, which explains why it is so mild right now, right? I don't know if you guys are feeling that, but I am a quarter of an inch into it. It is mild and smooth. Obviously, the Godiva is right now all over it, but soon when I'm done with the Godiva, I'll be able to taste more of it on its own. But it is mild, right? Where are you with it? Because I know you are...
No, for sure it's mild.
You went Dickman on that thing.
It's a Dickman. It's also
Dickman cut.
It's also a big honking cigar.
It is a big...
It's 7x56, but it just feels bigger.
It's like a baton. It feels like you were running a relay race with it.
So yeah, it's definitely on the mild side. I don't know if it's because of the size or because of the aged tobacco or because of both, but it's definitely smooth and light.
But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm really enjoying it.
And to your point about the size, I'm sure the fact that it's on the bigger side is even further affecting how mild it is. So it's been sitting in the humidor for a very long time, where it's competing with this super rich palate coating Godiva stuff, and yet the flavor is good. It's not.
Oh yeah, once you retrohale it, you'll notice it. The smell, the aroma is great. And I remember it being. This is what I remember from it. It was one of the first Montecristos where Altadis, the parent company of Montecristo, kind of went out of their wheelhouse and created something a little bit stronger, right? So this included some Nicaraguan tobacco to kind of give it a little bit of that zing that Montecristo really never had. We're talking about non-Cuban Montecristos, by the way. So the non-Cuban Montecristo profile was always mild, Dominican, smooth, right? That was its trademark. So with this cigar, they brought in some kick to it. And I remember we loved it. I can't remember what the hell we rated it back then. But if I would do more research before these podcasts, I would be more prepared. But hey, that's on me.
We'll have to dive back into the vault as soon as we're over here.
So anyway, but no, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
So that's what we're talking about that's on the old side. On the new is a new phenomenon that even if you don't own any of this stuff, you have to have heard of by now, and that is cryptocurrencies.
Oh, we're jumping on crypto right now.
We're jumping on crypto right now, man.
So crypto, when I say crypto, I mean cryptocurrencies.
Well, I don't know what else it would mean, but I guess we'll have to talk about that after we shut off the mics here.
So are we giving recommendations, or what are we doing
I don't think we're giving recommendations. I think we're just, three people talking about our perspectives on it and whatever experience we might have with it. Okay. Just to offer a little bit of context, Bitcoin is the one that most people have heard of. That people, yes. If you have had limited conversations, there's a good chance that those conversations have been about Bitcoin, rather than some of the other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Litecoin.
Yeah, everyone talks. No, I shouldn't say everyone, but most of the time the conversation revolves around Bitcoin. People will say, "Oh, Bitcoin was down today," and you say, "Yeah, but Ethereum was way up," or whatever. They don't know anything about those other ones. They only know about Bitcoin. So
yeah,
yes,
and so most of these had a big spike near the end of the year, and then kind of came right back down, where they've sort of leveled off at or around $10,000 or $11,000 per Bitcoin, for instance.
Yeah, at the time of this recording.
At the time of this recording, right. And it's funny because you hear people talk about, it's crashed, but it's crashed in some way or another, depending on how you define a crash, like 7 times over the last year. But the trend line is so anyway,
it's unmistakable. I mean, in the last 6 months, it's gone from, I don't know, around 3,000, and it went all the way up as high as about 19 something.
Exactly, yeah. So the two of you, let's Eric, tell us a little bit about, maybe when you first became aware of these things, and have you taken the plunge and bought anything?
So we used to share an office early Cigar Snob times. We used to share an office with a technology company, and Gianni was on the Bitcoin bandwagon early on. So he was always talking about it, and that's really where I first heard of it.
And this is Gianni Dall'Erta, he's now
shout out to
Gianni, who is now at a company called they're responsible for the wallet Jax.
Jax Wallet, I think I've heard it.
Yeah. But yeah, he is now full time making his living in the crypto space.
Yeah, so he's been our, or I should say my
advisor.
Well, yeah, I mean not advisor, because he doesn't want to be an advisor. He never wants to. But whenever I have a question about something, or I'm curious about one of these new coins or something like that, I'll always ask him, "Hey, what do you think about it?" He's always very careful to not. He's like, don't make any investment based on what I'm telling you.
These are not FDIC insured products.
Yeah, very much. But we love Gianni, and so anyway, yeah, I have taken a plunge. I mean, I don't know about plunge, but I've invested a little bit of money into several different coins, and it's been fun.
Yeah. I had a little bit of a brain fart there. The company he works for is called Decentral, and among other things, among other things, they make a cryptocurrency wallet called Jax, which is JAXX. They're a Toronto-based company, but I've seen some pictures of him, or that he's posted of their office in Toronto, where it's like his face on an iPad floating around one of those I'm a robot at the office contraptions. Ivan, have you gotten in on any of this?
So I haven't invested any money because I have no money. However, it's kind of probably saved me a little bit, because if I would have invested back when everybody was talking about it, it's taken a bit of a dive. So maybe if I come up with some money now, I might jump back in. But I'm a little bit more pessimist than everybody else. But we'll see.
Well, you're a traditional stocks and bonds guy.
Yeah, I look for dividends. No, seriously. I mean, this has had a lot of growth, but yeah, I'm just a little bit more pessimistic about it. That's it. So we'll see. If anybody owns it out there, you don't want me talking about it.
Well, so now, the interesting thing is what happens now that, for a little bit now, when I say a little bit, I really mean a little bit of time in terms of like a month. It has somewhat leveled off. Does that help it become a more usable currency? Because nobody wants to use it as currency when it's skyrocketing, right? Because I'm not going to pay for something with Bitcoin when it's going to be worth twice as much tomorrow. So as it levels off, if it does stay at this sort of slow incline,
but it hasn't been price-wise stable.
No,
since
of
it's
course
been
not.
out.
I'm saying if this were to stay on this path of 10, 11, 12, 13, not those massive jumps that it was taking,
right,
does it become more usable as a currency, which was its original intent?
Yeah.
Because right now it's just being used as an investment vehicle.
Right. And I think that's the idea, right, is that there's all this speculation about the reason that people were pumping money into it is in anticipation of its being used as a currency. You're seeing it used as a currency in some places, but generally not those places that have economies as stable as the U.S. economy.
Correct.
But where you hear most people using it is in places like Brazilian favelas and in Venezuela, where their alternative is a national currency that you want nothing to do with.
You want no part in.
And that you can't bank with often. So I've put a little bit into it, and if I were to sell now, I would have come out losing, but not by a whole lot. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was that the beginning and the end of the this recent federal government shutdown, they sort of demonstrated there was a spike and then a dive again, and it sort of has this inverse relationship with faith in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So, here where that only goes up so high and down so low, it's one thing, but it'll be interesting as, more and more people adopt it, how many more places like Brazil and like Venezuela, you see it come into sort of like regular use. And that's really, that's where the big numbers are, right, of people to use it. And there's a demand for that kind of a black market currency that is out of reach of governments and of mobsters and of whatever,
Yep.
So
well, I think honestly, I think it's in one way or another here to stay. I'm somewhere in between Ivan's pessimism and let's say Gianni's bullishness. I'm somewhere in between those two. I do think it's here to stay, though. I think cryptocurrencies in one form or another are going to be a part of our lives. I really do in the future. In the not so distant future either.
And Miami, interestingly, I'm not really exactly sure how this came to be, but Miami is sort of like a hotbed of this activity. I know that the big cryptocurrency Bitcoin conference happens here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was recently that somewhere in South Florida, they did like the first, at least publicly known, cryptocurrency-based real estate deal. So, when people are buying buildings with Bitcoin, that says something. I don't know whether that means that it's here to stay, but it's here for something. I'll make like a little bit of a shameless plug here. I have a little side thing at dademag.com, and I interviewed Gianni. We spoke for about an hour and a half. Goes to show how complicated some of this stuff is that I sat with him for an hour and a half, and I'm still more or less clueless on all this.
It's true.
But if you want to take a deeper dive, then we're
you
capable
have
of
to
giving
take
you.
a deep dive.
Yeah.
Even if you just want to put $100 into it, you have to take a deep dive. It's all very technical, and you've got to sign up for on one of these exchanges, and you got to do all these different things. So yeah, it's you got to deep dive. You can't just skim it on the surface. You can't go snorkeling on this.
So I wouldn't deep dive with all of your money. If any sound investment advice would always say to just allocate a percentage of your portfolio into that.
Something you're comfortable with,
something
right?
you're comfortable with.
And you're comfortable losing.
Yeah. So don't go mortgage your house and put all your money into it. So
Some investment advice we are very comfortable offering is that you should look out on newsstands for a copy of the new issue of Cigar Snob Mag to buy.
I love that transition.
Soundest investment you could possibly make. The January-February issue of Cigar Snob is on its way out, and that includes our top 25 list, the list of the top 25 cigars of 2017, as well as our usual features like pairing recommendations, travel content. What are some of the things that stand out for the two of you in this issue that's going to be hitting newsstands now?
So, well, you can't not mention the ratings, because even though we did top 25, the ratings are always a big part of what we do, right? They're a big part of our effort leading up, which, by the way, is also why that January issue comes out towards the middle of January instead of in the beginning, because of the amount of smoking that has to happen for top 25 and the ratings. So the ratings are something to always look out for. And, it's tough. I know we've talked about it a couple times, and we've put out some podcasts with the interviews and the tributes to José Orlando Padrón and Gilberto Oliva. Gilberto Oliva, you gotta I still have to say that that's one of my favorite parts of this issue, is just the outpouring of affection for these two men, these two greats of the cigar industry. When you listen to George Padron talking about his dad and Jose Oliva talking about his dad, I don't know, man, it's touching for me. And it gives me a different, and I think it should give the reader a different perspective on those cigars that they smoke all the time, right? Those are real men behind those brands, men and women, obviously. So yeah, I think that's the part that jumps out to me about that issue, in addition to Top 25, which is big.
The piece we did on Jose Orlando Padron and Gilberto Oliva, it was very touching, as you said, to hear everybody's kind words about them and what place they had in everybody's hearts. Besides that, the Top 25 was, of course, one of the best pieces of the year for us. And of course, I always love talking about the girls. So
yeah, I mean, that is your baby. Not that they are your babies.
So we did have a 2-girl shoot this time.
Yes.
So check that out. Give us, I'd love to hear some feedback on what you think. So feedback at cigarsnobmag.com on what you think of it. I think we've had one of the most beautiful girls we've ever shot this time around. This shoot was sponsored by Villiger Cigars. So we had a Meridiana.
The cigar. So Villiger came in with 2 cigars that they wanted to us to use during this photo shoot, and so one
being La Meridiana and the other one being La Vencedora, which we appropriately named each one of our models, sponsoring the shoot. So check that out. I think I think you're gonna like it.
Well, and it was called Opposites Attract was the title of the shoot, right? In that spirit of La Meridiana being a more medium-bodied, creamy cigar, and La Vencedora being a more powerhouse smoke. So
we did have a powerhouse girl.
Powerhouse girl. So yeah, to the point that both of you touched on, those tributes, I think it was a special thing, to put that together.
And that was, you had obviously a huge part in that. You conducted all those interviews, and it must have given you a perspective that maybe you didn't have before, right? Even though you've known both of these gentlemen in a limited sense, but you'd known them from a business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that, especially in the cigar industry, a lot of times I'll talk to people who are totally disconnected from the cigar world and refer to the cigar industry as kind of behaving a little bit like a high school cafeteria.
Completely.
And that can sound like there's a lot of pettiness and all that, but the flip side of that is that the relationships are very personal. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find another area in adult life where people's, professional experiences overlap with their personal so much that, when somebody in the industry passes away, you get some. I don't think a lot of people are getting choked up at car shows. But that happens here because everybody sort of eats, sleeps, and breathes this stuff, and so you end up with people who have these lifelong relationships that they're closer to each other than they are with their families often. So hearing people reflect on the lives of these two men, let alone Jose and George talking about their fathers, was an unusually emotional thing, compared to our usual fare of where we had clam chowder and what cigars we've been smoking lately. The other thing, speaking of chowder, that jumps to mind is the Boston travel. I won't talk too much about that, but if you go back into past episodes of the podcast, you'll hear a deeper discussion of that we had right after that trip in episode 3. So go back there. And then it's, from an editorial standpoint, not a huge feature, but in our event coverage, we cover their photos and a bit of a summary of, is it Atlanta Cigar Week or ATL Cigar Week?
I think it was just Atlanta Cigar Week.
Yeah, and I think if you've never been to Atlanta, that's one of those, that is a thing that I think illustrates what a great cigar town that is, because they hit a bunch of places, and it's like every photo that you see, it's like, oh shit, what a cool looking cigar hangout.
What a cool looking joint, yeah.
And And I've been to most or all. Actually, I was there with Ivan when we were doing the Atlanta travel story. How long ago was that? Was that maybe a year and a half?
About a year.
About a year ago. And they really are all places that you wish you had in your neighborhood. Very great cigar town. So that's a thing that to me, at least visually, sort of jumps out. It's one of those events that you see and you're like, I kind of wish I had been there.
Well, and speaking about that though, in terms of events that you wish you had been there, I attended the Sabor Havana Smoke This and the Sabor Havana Cigars Under the Stars, which is the night before Smoke This. And those were fantastic events. Right here in our neighborhood, I know, but just George and Aquiles put together such a great event. They've been doing it now for several years, and it just keeps getting better and better. The food was awesome. The drinks were awesome. So that event jumps out at me. I know that my recommendations for the issue have already passed, but
yeah,
I just wanted to add that in there.
So another big event that's really not cigar related, but that we're all going to be at least watching is what is probably history's most patriotic Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, no doubt.
And the New England Patriots. It's got Star Spangled Banner and screeching birds all over it. Who you got?
It's tough to bet against New England. It's just tough to bet against them.
Giving 5?
Are they giving 5?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Well, I wasn't saying from a betting
No,
perspective.
I know.
Now you've introduced a wrinkle into it because giving 5 is. I got to figure that line's going to move the other way. Just the history of these close Super Bowls with New England.
Yeah, something crazy will happen. Some crazy catch, maybe some Deflategate type scenario. Oh, but can somebody else just win it, for God's sake?
To your point about it being tough to bet against them, even just the fourth quarter of that last game is every year there's at least one of those.
Another interesting thing about this Super Bowl, did you guys see the videos of the Minnesota fans who went to the conference championship in Philadelphia? Did you see the bottles being thrown at them? And it was insane.
I didn't catch that. What I did see was I think it's a Minnesota thing, or no, it's an Eagles thing. The climbing the poles is like a thing they do, and there's video of so they all are going nuts on the street, and there's video from inside.
Any alcohol involved?
There has to be.
I'm joking.
But there are probably a lot of Godiva. They're all just shotgunning Godiva
intravenously.
There's video from inside of a train, and there's a guy running along the train to catch it, and he just runs smack into one of the poles. That's got to be like highlight of the whole playoffs for me. Nobody made a play as fun to watch 30 times in a row as that guy. There was no better hit this year in football. Super Bowl foods.
Super Bowl. Oh, I got something.
Super Bowl foods.
I was not prepared for this podcast, but last weekend, my brother, my cousins were all over the house, and we were talking about I have a Big Green Egg at home. That's my smoker grill, and we were talking. There had been some alcohol involved there as well, and it got to the point of we need to do something with this egg now that we're all here. And dude, we did. We roasted some picanha. I don't know in English what you. So it's like a rump roast, but holy mackerel, that was awesome. So I'm gonna do the picanha redo, although it came out amazing. I'm gonna do it again for the Super Bowl. No doubt, it was just unbelievable. If you, I don't know, how do you, can you look that up somewhere? Picanha, what is it? What would you call that in English? But anyway, it's got this big layer of fat on the bottom, so you roast the crap out of that side.
Yummy.
And it becomes like a big chicharrón at the end of a steak.
So I'll be at your house.
It was awesome.
I'll be at your house.
Oh, you tried it, you jerk! You were there.
So picanha is the Brazilian or the Portuguese word. It's a typical Brazilian thing. It's sirloin cap.
Sirloin cap. That's how you would say that. All right.
According to a quick Google search. So this is if sirloin cap doesn't do it for you, ask your butcher. Maybe they'll know picanha. Picanha. Like
my God,
in English it would be like picanha. Picanha.
But just outrageous steak. The beautiful thing about it is that you can almost not you just can't mess it up because you roast the crap out of one side of it, then you flip it over, and then even if it's medium, you're still gonna slice it, and then if somebody wants it, or if it's rare, somebody wants it a little more cooked, you just grill those sides that you sliced off.
Tell you what, that big green egg helps though.
The big green
That thing's
well, so my
amazing.
brother has made that exact cut on his grill, which is a gas grill. And I asked him afterwards, how does this compare? I mean, we basically seasoned it the way he seasoned it, which was just basically completely covered in salt, rock salt, by the way. And I said, how different was the picanha on your gas grill as compared to the big green egg? And he said it was just night and day. The flavor just jumped out at you from the big green egg. So that's what I'll be doing for the Super Bowl.
Ivan, I know you have your own culinary adventures sometimes. Any go-tos for when you're Super Bowl prepping?
Super Bowl prepping. How about pizza, chicken wings, and chips? Got low maintenance for the Super Bowl. You got to watch them commercials. I hate slaving over a grill when all this stuff is going on. Yeah.
No,
that's a lot of work.
But I've got the electrical hookup now for the TV outside, so I'll be able to grill and watch the game perfectly.
I'm a degenerate gambler, so I like checking my boxes after the end of each quarter. I like doing it. I hate looking over all the food. I cook all the time, not on Super Bowl.
Does your fantasy league do any Super Bowl thing?
Nothing. I won that thing, by the way, guys. I'm the champ.
Nice.
No skirt.
no dress.
Skirt.
No dress.
No
That's
skirt.
right.
Trophy for me.
Was there any
You know,
compensation?
I hate talking about this. It's compensation that I'll probably never see. So this is worse than Bitcoin. This is a real Ponzi scheme here. So.
All right.
How about you, dude? You didn't say what you're gonna make.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've ever hosted a Super Bowl thing. So I generally don't make anything except maybe if I'm contributing a little something, like a dip or bringing over some bought wings from a wing place or something like that. But pretty low maintenance. Oh come on, no,
that's the wife. It's the only one that's allowed to ring.
But yeah, no, I generally haven't hosted any Super Bowl stuff, and for like a huge chunk of the last 15 years, I was in Packer country, so they're a little more Super Bowl crazy, and then I was in Missouri, where just big on sports in general, even though they've lost their NFL franchise, but except for Kansas City, but even though the teams have been perpetually disappointing, all those Chiefs and Rams fans were pretty diehard. So, but yeah, I generally have not cooked a whole lot. One thing that I do like...
You didn't bring anything on this.
I know, I didn't bring a whole lot. I will say...
Not going to Nick's house for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I should have just skipped over it.
Don't come to my house. That's why I was ready to move on to the next thing. I will say this is something that people in the Southeast might be able to take a cue on. A friend of mine introduced me to the idea of making a dip by chopping up Publix chicken tenders and buffalo sauce with cream cheese. And that's pretty awesome.
Sounds like a good time.
That is a very good time, and it's easy to do. People were very impressed with very minimal effort. It's not picanha, but you know.
Hey, before we continue, can we talk about the cigar? I mean, I feel like we brought a cigar out from the quote unquote vault, and we haven't talked about it enough. But I don't know about you guys, but as I'm going down the cigar, it's uptick in flavor significantly. Yeah. Also, the Godiva is completely off my palate. Yeah. But I'm seriously enjoying it.
I'm into it. It's got a nice woodiness to it.
But not in a bad, offensive way whatsoever.
It's like a mild cedar.
Yep.
There's a little bit of that, like, I want to say chocolate. I'm hesitant to commit to chocolate just because the Godiva still might be lingering a bit, but there's some a mild chocolatiness there.
I agree.
It's good balance. It's bringing a little bit of all the,
and it's just like ever so slight hint of spice, but like super slight.
Yeah, and the burn couldn't be better. I think we're all doing pretty damn well here.
Yeah. This would be a great golf course cigar. Like, I'd love to smoke this on the course.
It was a little bit pricey, I think, back in the day, and impossible to get now. So I don't know about your golf course cigar.
Big though. It's 7 inches by whatever 48.
Yeah, from that
standpoint, and it's smooth and
get a 7x56 bundled cigar, man. Don't take this out to the course.
I never smoked that stuff, man. Come on. We're snobs. We're snobs around here.
That's true.
There you go.
You can't bring yourself to smoke a bad cigar.
No.
Honestly, working here, we don't. It's like you have to smoke something that you don't like, and it's like, oh, geez, can't we smoke that other thing?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's life's too short, right? Life's too short for bad cigars, and this is not one of them. This is solid. I'm glad we went into the vault for this episode.
So the idea, and can we set that up a little bit? Like,
Yeah,
so the
sure.
idea is to do one of these every now and then, right?
Yeah, every now and again we'll take a dive into the vault, which is the technical term we use for the deepest corners of the office humidor.
Exactly.
And yeah, this is the first time that we're doing it, but I'm sure we'll keep going. And I think one of the things that we want to try to do is have guests go into their quote unquote vaults.
That'd be awesome.
And bring them in. So hopefully in the coming months we'll have a few guests on from the cigar world who they've all got their funky little collections of stuff that either never hit the market or has been off the market for a long time. And so yeah, I think we're all looking forward to having that stuff that
give me an excuse
we otherwise would never get into.
Give me an excuse to smoke something really old and really good.
Yeah. Or really weird. I'll do new and weird. New and weird is good. Some like, we experimented with this off the wall thing. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up coming through.
At the end of the day, they're all rolled up leaves. So I don't know how weird you want to get here.
You're looking for a transition to get into your weird video of the week, right?
No, I don't have any weird videos this week.
Is that where he's going with this?
I don't have weird videos
Some other
this
Japanese
week.
Here it comes.
I don't
speaking of weird,
I don't have weird videos this week, but that does bring us to our parting recommendations. At the end of every episode, we make recommendations on things that you may want to do, eat, watch, read. So I guess I'll start. Since I'm letting you guys down, though, with a lack of weird. There were two things that I saw recently. One was the movie The Shape of Water, which was great. If you were into Pan's Labyrinth or any of those other Guillermo del Toro films, very good movie. And the other was a Netflix documentary series called The Toys That Made Us, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's a 5-part documentary series, and each one focuses on a different toy franchise. So the first episode is all about the Star Wars toys and the story of how those were developed and how they were brought to market and the sort of business deals behind them. So it's kind of a cool mix of, like, if you're into the nostalgia of Stranger Things and you're into business stories and you
say the truth, you're in it for the Barbie franchise.
I'm in it for the Barbie franchise. You're right. I'm all about that, and the G.I. Joes, which are Barbie for boys.
They were
So yeah, that totally worth watching. I would highly recommend it. Don't be thrown by what might be the worst theme song in the history of anything ever recorded. Theme song is absolute garbage, and I almost turned it off.
These are the toys that made us.
It's an 8-part documentary series about the toys that we all know. Plastic creations that last for generations, and we still cannot let go. Little molded figures that gave us big dreams will go back in time and behind the scenes. It's the toys that made us. Toys that made us is here.
But I'm glad I stuck it out. Definitely watch that. What about you guys?
So I actually watched the first episode of Rotten, which is also a Netflix original. It's like it's kind of deep dive into, not to use the word deep dive, the phrase deep dive, but it exposes some of the darker, uglier parts of the food industry. So it started with honey, which I'm a fan. That's actually why I watched it. I love honey. I love real honey, and so the episode on honey is awesome about the problems that these beekeepers run into and all the shady things that happen with what they call when they like cut honey. Adulterated honey, that's what it's called. When they take this, what is normal honey, and they'll cut it with some type of syrup, and so obviously you're paying honey prices for something that's not 100% honey, but then there's also the shadiness of like the Chinese honey, and how the Chinese are able to get it into this. It's very, very interesting. So I recommend that if you're into like those exposés on. What was that documentary back then about food? Food Inc., wasn't it?
Yep.
So it's kind of along those lines, but a little bit deeper into each sort of topic. The other thing is the book that I'm reading right now, which is The Power of Habit, which I love. It's by Duhigg, the guy that wrote Smarter, Faster, Better, Charles Duhigg. So anyway, those are my recommendations: The Power of Habit and Rotten. Sorry, I went a little long on my recommendation.
It's all right. So I'm not reading anything right now, but I am drinking something besides this Godiva. First, I'd like to give a shout out to Yayabo Cigars and the Tank Brewing for providing us with our little kegerator here in the office. So
Little is
thanks. So
a little misleading.
It's a big kegerator, and it's awesome. I don't drink water in the office anymore. I just drink beer.
We're drinking Freedom Trail.
So
no, Freedom Tower.
Freedom
sorry.
Tower. So
Freedom Tower from.
So
the Tank.
check out Tank Brewing Freedom Tower. It's like a red ale.
It's like an amber ale.
It's like an amber ale. It's delicious. So check that out. It's awesome.
Cool. All right. And with that, we are wrapping up this episode of the Cigar Snob Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play Music. You can also find us at cigarsnobmag.com/podcast and send any emails to feedback@cigarsnobmag.com. We're always looking for any feedback, criticism, questions, comments. That's feedback@cigarsnobmag.com. Thanks.